Safety. It's a big thing in the workshop. If you don't feel safe doing something, or you just don't feel comfortable, don't do it. You're the only person who can keep you safe. And if you don't do it, no one else can.
Well, welcome back to the shop. I haven't made a video for a little while. I did make a video. Made a video on making pepper mills, and I edited it, and I was really pleased with it. And then had an accident with my computer, and I lost everything. Hard drive and the computer, whole thing. Laptops don't swim very well apparently. Anyway, it's been a little while, but I thought I'd get back into it, and a friend of mine asked me if I'd make a video on how I make these little pendants. I believe with Christmas coming, he wants to make one or two, and asked me if I'd make a video next time I made one. So I have done, and I've made the video, and this is the pendant that I make in the video. Now, there's a few special tools for making pendants to get the offset design and that. Now, there's quite a lot of videos out there by some different turners, and a lot of them use the Richard Joyner off-center jig. That's this little rig here, and this is a two-piece rig. Well, it's more than two pieces, but two main pieces. There's the 4 screws. Now, one place where you can get this is Ruth Niles, who's well known. I believe she sells this little package, and this is a commercial version, a commercial way of doing it. The main body, I think you can see, has numbered tacked holes there, off-centered. There's one right in the center, that's this one, and then they're off-centered, so if you screw this on a screw in any of the holes other than the center one, it's going to run off-center. Okay. Another part of this is this plate, which fits on the front of this here. There, that way. And then there's 4 of these little thumb screws that go through from the back, and there is a 0 position there. So if you line up the 2 zeros, on the side, and put in thumb screws, 4 of them. Okay. You have the basis of being able to turn these little pendants and bottle tops, you know, the tops for bottles and those kind of things. You can put some little designs on them. Now, along with this, you're going to need some form of M2 taper, or something that goes in your chuck that has a 3/8 thread on it. That 3/8 thread fits in these here. So you can see, okay, that's how it works. And then by taking the set screws out the back, the little thumb screws, you can rotate the plate on the front around. So now if you offset this into one of the holes, and normally I only use the first offset, which is number 2 in this one, you can see that when it's running in the lathe, it's going to be eccentric, it's going to be off-center. Okay, and as well as being off-center, by rotating this plate around, you can come up with thousands and thousands of combinations of how you can put a design on a bottle top, bottle stopper, or on a pendant. So that's the commercially available model. Now this isn't mine, I borrowed it from a good friend of mine who has one of these, and he, after seeing the one I made myself, made a modification to this one too, and so I'll show you that just for those of you who are so inclined. He made a cap that has the holes in it just like the little plate. Okay, these little tapped holes, the ring of tapped holes around it. Now this will fit over the base plate with the holes in the bottom, and by using the same little thumb screws he can lock this in any of 24 positions around it. Now the reason he made this is because it provides him with a 3/8 threaded shaft on here that he can screw into the wooden block. He drills a 5/16 hole, he can screw that into a glue block or into the glue blocks that I use have a nut on the end, a nut glued in the center, I should say, not in the end, it's glued in the center, and so this will screw onto the threaded rod, and it makes a very secure and very repeatable way of attaching your block of wood for your pendant to this, which then attaches to this. Okay. Now another way of doing it would be to use the little plate that comes with it, and let me just take this off. The plate that comes with it has 4 countersunk holes through it. So you could use wood screws through those holes and screw it right into your glue block for attaching your piece of wood. So there's many ways to do this, and that's one of the things I like about it. Everybody has ideas and goes down a little bit different paths to achieve some of the things we see on YouTube. Now this is sold as a package with sort of little M2 taper. I think around $100 is what you're going to have to pay to get one. It's a Richard Joyner off-center jig, and Ruth Niles does sell them on her website, so that's one source for you. I, as usual, have gone a slightly different route. Along the same lines, I have made this little block here, and this little block here has tapped holes in it, the same idea, and we'll screw onto that same shaft, which has an M2 stub shaft that will go on your lathe. And of course you must always, when you do something like this, you must always have a drawbar that will screw into this and pull it back into your headstock and into your lathe so it doesn't work free. Okay, so this goes for whichever system you're using. You need to have a drawbar. That's my recommendation anyway. Okay, so the one I made, I have the same thing. I have offset tapped holes so you can mount it. Now where I went a little differently, I put a recess in the other side, and I have a little I don't know what you call it, stub shaft with a tapped hole in, and a little locking plate that goes over that, and three bolt holes here, 3 bolt holes that I can lock that plate down with. These 3 bolts, Allen cap screws, to be tightened down to lock that center shaft and stop it from rotating. Now all you need to do is just loosen them a little like that, and you can rotate this around and around and around. And I have on it a mark both on the shaft and on the back plate that I can line up for a home position or 0 position. So basically you end up with it's the same thing. I guess the only difference is I made it like this so that it was easier than undoing the 4 screws. I just had to loosen 3 and then I could spin it to wherever I wanted it with infinite number of stop places. So we end up with a means of supporting a piece of wood and either rotating it truly or off center, or when it's off center to be able to rotate it as well. And that's all these rigs do. So now when I put this back in the center, I have a 3/8 shaft here, and one of the things that I probably do a little differently than most other people, a lot of people use 2-sided tape, and with only this basic unit are able to stick their pendant smooth one side flat, stick their pendant on with 2-sided tape, and machine the other side. Then by offsetting it, they can put a hole through it. I have a little glue block on here, and stick the tape onto the glue block. Your imagination is the only thing that limits us. Now, the other thing, as I say, the thing that I wanted to be able to do was to be able to machine the back, even to the extent of if I chose to put a design on the back as well. So on one pendant you could have 2 different designs. Now the way I've done that is to make this little chuck here. Okay, you see it's hollowed out. It has a little recess in the front here that will take a pendant that's been machined on one side and snap it in, slide it forward, and you have it in a little chuck. Now this chuck of course will fit onto here, so you can rotate it true, or you can offset it, or you can spin it around, do all the same things that you can do with putting your piece of wood on. You can do the same with this. So the purpose of this video is just to show you how I do it. There's many ways to do it, and I'm sure there's better ways than mine to do it, but I wanted to show you how I do it. And really it was a request from a friend of mine that started this, so he wanted to see how I do it and go from there. You've seen these, of course. These are the different types of wood that I can make the pendants from, just the woods that I have available at the moment. I've got some Tulia burl, some walnut, some bacote, Tulia burl again, and a piece of Pendant. So you can see these have been pre-machined, and you'll see me do some of this on the tape of how to make them. Now, other special tools are probably the thin parting tool, and the main reason for having a thin parting tool is to save material. This exotic material is quite expensive, very expensive actually, and so if you have a thin parting tool, you can save material by parting them off and not waste a lot of material in the parting. This is just made from a reciprocating saw blade, and with a reciprocating saw blade, this was the side the teeth were on, and I just ground this off flat on a belt sander and then shaped the top like this and stuck it in a handle, and Bob's your uncle. There we go. It makes a lovely little parting tool. I mean, it will part in plenty deep enough to part one of these off, and we'll see that in the tape. Okay, making the glue blocks. You've seen how I have a bolt, a nut rather, so not a bolt, it's a nut. You've seen how I have a nut in here, and this is one of those long nuts that is used for joining threaded rods together, and I turn that part of it down that's about this long here, about up to here. So from there to there I turn about that long, turn that much down to 5/8 diameter. Then all I have to do is drill a 5/8 hole in a block. There's a little block of ash, and glue in one of these, and then I can mount it on on my little eccentric chuck, off-center chuck. I can mount it on there and turn it. So there, I think that's all the things that are a little different maybe that I tried to explain. Now I'm going to let you see the video of me making them the way I make them, just to show you how I do it, so you'll get one or two ideas maybe if you choose to make some of these yourself. So again, welcome back to the shop, and hope you enjoy this little video. Thanks now.